Well, this is something that has obviously hit the news in Britain in a big way, and in many ways, it is this acts as as a spur to get things moving. This is a story that goes back to the late 1990s, when the post office in Great Britain introduced a new computerized system called the Horizon system, and it was introduced to a lot of the sub post offices around the country. And a sub post office, for those who aren't aware, is normally a post office that is run alongside a shop or alongside a business in a community. It's not run entirely by the post office. It's normally run by an independent person who runs it as a sideline to their main business. And so these are the small businesses all over the rural parts of the country, all over the country, and in
Yeah,
smaller communities. They're
yeah,
everywhere. And
yes,
so
and I'll say just before we get serious, I'd just like to say I
yeah,
remember there was one running cows when I used to live on the Isle of Wight. There was one
yes,
running cows by a very not nice lady. Who we took to calling who we took to calling Bellatrix Lestrange because of her hair.
yeah, yeah. They are. They do crop up in strange places. We've got a sub post office just up the road from us,
Yeah,
and yeah, there can be a bit of an odd bunch. But anyway, so in the late 90s, they introduced the post office, introduced this new computerized system that was brought by Fujitsu, and it was introduced to these small sub post offices. And then pretty soon afterwards, people started noticing there's some sort of glitches, that they couldn't quite get their books to balance. And when they signed the contracts with the sub postmaster as a sub postmaster or mistress, the contract said basically that you are responsible for any shortfall. So
yeah.
if there's any accounting errors and you are down £1,000, you are responsible for paying that £1,000 back.
Mm.
And then so these post people suddenly they would find that the computer software was telling them they were thousands of pounds down and they were liable for this money. And the post office basically said, well, you are either false accounting or you're stealing or you're committing some sort of fraud, but you are responsible for all of these errors. It's not there's nothing wrong with the Horizon system. You are the only person who has reported this, and so this is your issue. And so it started off with like a couple of people who basically were like, well, okay, I'll pay this money back, but I'm promising you I did not take it. And it's coming up to like 20, 30, 40,000 pounds. These people have paid back from their savings. They're borrowing the money to pay it back because the post office is saying, if you don't pay this back, we are going to send you to prison. And the post office is one of these anomalies in Britain where they can prosecute their own cases in the courts of law. RSPCA are the same. There's other agencies where they can prosecute their own cases. It doesn't have to go through the police. It doesn't have to go through the Crown Prosecution Service. So the balance of proof, it's all down to the post office. They can prosecute their own cases. And so these people were then finding out that, yeah, they were being um, charged by the post office, found guilty, and some of them are going to prison, some of them are being fined. But it was a serious matter. And there's one man who had a post office in North Wales who said more or less immediately, there's a problem with the software. This is no way, it is my accounting error, there's a problem with software. And this man, his name is Mr. Alan Bates. And he then spent the next 20 years pursuing the post office for justice to say, and he was basically sacked from being a postmaster. He lost his business. He had to relocate his family, him and his wife. But he was determined he was not going to give in to this bullying by the post
Yeah.
office. And he pursued this through the years. And he gathered basically one person at a time, these people to bring a case against the post office. And as the years have gone by, it turned into not just like one or two people, it was hundreds of people who were prosecuted, who were convicted, who were imprisoned, who were fined, who lost thousands of pounds. And as a response to this television drama, which was excellently done by the way, Toby Jones playing Alan Bates, and a host of well-known faces who are just remarkable in their role, and it filled me with such righteous indignation that
Yeah.
I think that anyone watching this would probably feel exactly the same. That this was just this, this it's just unjust. It was just outrageous that these people went through this. One man who stood up in court saying, "No, I'm going to fight this because I can prove I didn't do it because I can show you that there was a problem with the software."
Yeah.
He was found guilty. He was charged. He was ordered to repay the cost, like £30,000 shortfall, and then he was ordered by a judge to pay all of the court costs, which was £300,000. And so this was a man who hadn't done anything wrong and suddenly had to pay a bill of £330,000. He lost his home, he lost his business, he lost his livelihood, he lost his good name for something he hadn't done. And some people, because they were so scared of the system, they said, okay, I'll plead guilty to false accounting, even though I know I haven't done anything wrong, because you're telling me if I don't plead guilty to false accounting, I will go to prison.
Yeah.
And so it was just dreadful. And so we have then seen, I think what struck me as the similarities with One Life is how the power of drama, as in One Life, it was like a sort of entertainment show, that's life. But at the moment we see in Britain how this has suddenly become something we've been aware of for a long time. And I was aware of the post office scandal.
Yeah.
It's been in the news for years.
That's
but
right.
Only seeing this, to see it sort of dramatized in this way, made you just literally burn with indignation. And I think this has sort of spread. And like now the government is saying, okay, enough's enough. We have got to step in and do something about this. The power of good drama, I think, is amazing.
I found out the other day that somebody I know locally's parents had to declare bankruptcy as sub postmaster, postmistress because of it. And they'd lost everything.
Yeah, it's astonishing. But the power of this drama, I think, is what's astonishing, is that how a simple drama on the television that, I mean, can basically make people suddenly sit up and notice, because it makes it more personal, doesn't it? Suddenly, by having these characters in your home and you see them behind the closed doors, you see their lives, the impact on their families, the impact on their children. A drama that reflects real life, done well, has got real power to it. And I think that's what really struck me when I was watching it, thinking, you know, and seeing the outcome of what's happened with this drama is that, you know, it has real impact.
Because I mean, at the moment, because I think this drama was released on New Year's Day, and this is about 2 weeks later. And today, when I got in the car and I put on the radio, I feel like I go into the car about 3 or 4 times, and on Radio 5 Live, they were talking about this. And I think that the drama has really given an added impetus of, we can't let them get away with this. We can't, because I feel like it's kind of like, you know, the big bad corporation, which happened to be the post office / the government, just punching down on these tiny people, or on these little people, just sort of saying, we're big, we're going to say this is what it is, and you can't get away. And I think like this is really sort of pushed it. Sean, you were going to say something, sorry.
Yeah, no, I was just going to say that I mean, it's funny enough, last year there was a Radio 4 that was serialised. They used to have it on it. There was a whole thing on this and that was on the radio, but like Sharon says, on the TV, you actually see it more. I think more people. But yeah, no, it made me just listen to the radio program. It used to be on at 1:45 every sort of lunchtime, and they, you know, like Radio 4 they do, and it was a whole sort, and it's like, oh my God. And I've felt lots of indignation. I thought, that's just so cruel. But now it's being televised, you know. I mean, it's a good thing. It's even more, because I think TV opens it up to more people, doesn't it?
And it has made a huge difference. It was the first thing in the first Prime Minister's questions of the year was the post office. They're doing things, and it's only happened because of this drama, which is both transformative and horrific, that it takes an ITV drama for something to be done about something that they've known about for 5 years. For 5 years. This could have been dealt with 5 years ago, and it wasn't.
Yeah, because I remember I heard about this a while back, and I remember thinking, nah, it can't. No, that couldn't have happened. Seriously? Like, the more you looked at it, you just sort of thought they couldn't. Just a computer glitch, and they ruined people's lives. And I remember thinking that couldn't have happened. And the more I looked at it, I was like, seriously, they went to those lengths, and I'm happy. And I guess sort of like, you know, what you were saying with One Life, you said that it's a 5-star story, but they made a 1-star, a 3-star film about it. And it sounds like with this, from everything I've heard, they made a 5-star TV show.
Yes, absolutely.
That makes that takes you right to the heart of it. And I feel like there's very few people who have watched this, who have come away going, or anything other than, I think the word is indignation. That word just has to keep coming back again.
I think what's the bad thing is the actual post office itself should have known, and saying, we're having so many prosecutions, there's got to, you know, because the majority of people, surely, if you're going to be a postmaster, you know, it's going to be, you're not...
Honest people, on the whole.
Yeah, generally on the whole. And I mean, they must have known. Said, "Oh, it's
But,
not isolated. It's not an isolated case or an
There were a
isolated
few
5 cases.
things.
It's hundreds."
No. People, bureaucracy. People are not in the habit of saying that it's my fault.
I always remember the Incredibles. It goes, "It's the bureaucracy."
Well, apparently part of it is it started from a Victorian position where postmasters and mistresses were seen to be a bit jumped up and trying to be better than they were. So everybody had there was a historical expectation that they would possibly be trying to pilfer funds. And then when they were taken to court, the onus was on them to prove their innocence,
as opposed to
not for the post office to prove their guilt. And so the fact that there was no evidence of where this money had gone, that they hadn't spent it, that it hadn't appeared in anyone else's bank accounts, that there were no one was off to a tropical island, didn't matter.
Because I think if you look at it as a police investigation, that's the first thing you do is you chase the money. You think, where has the money gone? And then you would look for bank statements and say, okay, if you've got £10,000 missing, where did that £10,000 go? And then you want to trace that money. But they never did that. They just said, we've got £10,000 missing, you have to repay it. And then as soon as they repaid it, it's like, okay, you've admitted it because you've repaid it, so you've basically...
Oh god!
And do you know where that money?
Oh, that makes me want to punch somebody.
The money that basically disappeared, that wasn't there, this money then existed. Basically, it was held in central post office funds, and then after it had been there for a certain amount of time, it just went into profits. So all of these people have bankrupted themselves. And the money that they have lost, that has destroyed them, has gone into post office profits.
Yeah, because it never existed before. So this 25, it's not a missing £26,000. No. It was like, this is
no money.
It would never. Yeah, it didn't exist before. You've just taken this money that was never missing in the first place, and then you've gone. So you have just pocketed that because, like, you haven't got a shortfall anywhere. So that £26,000 they've taken off like one individual. There is no shortfall for that to fill that gap. So this is basically an extra £26,000.
Yeah, they're essentially extorting people.
Yeah,
the post office was essentially extorting people.
And you could see it, as you say, not even complicated forensic accounting. There's not a gap. The money that you say has gone hasn't appeared anywhere else. So you're going to get the money that hasn't disappeared to be found from somewhere that it doesn't exist in order to put it somewhere where it's not missing, so that it can then be appropriated into a different fund because it's money that's not meant to be there and nobody knows what to do with it.
Rampant racketeering, that's what it was.
Yes.
Do you think anybody will get prosecuted for it, or do you think everyone will get away with it? Do you think it'll be a blowover?
No one is getting prosecuted for this. I mean, nobody went to jail.
I meant, like the people that, the post office
side.
That's what I mean. That's what I mean. And that's why I'm saying nobody's going to jail.
I don't think so. I think it's going to be one of these labyrinthine things. Everyone else is going to be, I'm responsible for this little bit, and I wasn't responsible for that bit.
Yeah,
and then the person who's responsible for that, they were like, I'm only responsible for that. I only know this bit, the picture. So there is no one, and there are people who oversaw it, like the lady has handed back her CBE. Even she's saying, well, I only know what I know.
It's the fact that even Fujitsu, who are arguably the ones to blame here, that they wrote this piece of thing that had this, it seems like quite a simple glitch in it that ruined loads of lives. And even after that, I saw something that they have been, even after this, they have still been awarded something like 3.7 billion
government contracts.
Of government contracts after this to keep providing things. So
they haven't done anything. They haven't done anything criminal. They have successfully competed in procurement processes. There is nothing technically to disqualify them from bidding and winning.
Yeah, there's nothing. But the fact is, but the fact is, if a plumber goes to your house and puts a toilet in backwards, so that it actually flows into your room as opposed to flowing out of your house, that plumber shouldn't be getting another job.
There's I was listening today on the it would have been about lunchtime-ish, the news, and it was saying that they're still using the Fujitsu thing, but it's so old and antiquated that Fujitsu are the only ones that can
God.
No one else can. There's only Fujitsu that And the mum said, the spokesman said, "Oh, we are trying to change the system." So they've still got it.
I can't believe there's not a really simple off-the-shelf package that you could buy that would basically do it. There's so many. It's just mystifying.
This is
absolutely mystifying.
Oh my word! I can put myself getting annoyed.
I'm going to, on my sort of to-do list for the next day or so, is to see if the testimony from the select committee today, which had one of the Royal Mail investigators
on there.
And I would be really interested to see what was said, what happened. I'm not sure if I've got the stomach for it, and I really feel for him as well, because that's going to be, can you imagine finding out that your decisions like that when you thought you were doing the right thing?
You see, now this is this is part of the reason why I have not watched this show yet, because I'm not sure I can handle it. I'm really not sure I can handle it, because it's okay. I'm gonna try and finish this on because I was reading a story about this show, and it turns out that one of my friend's dads is actually in the show, not as an actor, like he is being played by somebody in the show. So
okay.
Yeah, he is. I was reading this, and I'll read the line I read from the BBC thing. It's like, former Tory MP James, now Baron Arbuthnot, a strong supporter of the affected post office staff's campaigns for justice, is played in the series by actor Alex Jennings. And I read that, I was kind of like, hang on a second. I immediately sort of like sent my friend Alex, I sent him a message going, because I was like, hang on, that's your dad. I've met that guy. I've hung out in his house and everything like that. And I was like, and I have to say, that is good casting. That is really, really good casting. And he says that, that they've just finished. His message back was like, oh yeah, he says like, oh, that apparently his dad met Alex Jennings on set, with the guy who was playing him on set, and it's a cool guy apparently. It says, we've just finished it. It was pretty tough going to experience all the awfulness, and made us experience how awesome it is to be fixing these kind of problems in the world. I mean, I'm not sure how well the problem can be fixed. I'm not sure it can be fixed, but at least there's somebody who is not just trying to put the postmasters in the ground. And and I just reiterated to him. I was like, I've heard great things about this show, but I feel like I need to. I use the firm gird my loins. I need to sort of like, back up my constitution. I need to be in the right frame of mind, because my TV might not survive me watching this show. I might break it.
It's a tough watch, because it's like, for these people who've been fighting since the 1990s. When you think about that, you're thinking that's.
Well, I mean, some of them are dead, literally.
Yeah, so, some of them have died. Yeah,
and some of them have taken their lives. I mean, people had committed suicide because they were driven to it. So I think it's because part of it is it's quite unrelenting. So I must admit, I watched it all in one evening, all 4 episodes, because it was like, thought I need to get to some point of some sort of conclusion.
Because some sort of resolution,
Yeah, because every time you get to the end of an episode, it's like, they sort of like, they think they've got somewhere, and then they're sort of like, they just sort of winkle out of it. They say, oh, well, actually, we have had a win. It's like they awarded some money. And then by the time they'd paid the court costs, and by the time they'd paid the solicitor's fees and blah, 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 they were allocated something like less than £20,000 each. And they were awarded like millions. The settlement was like millions. But then they still haven't seen any of this money, because it's like there's appeal, there's all sorts of, and you're like going, ah.
It's now 75 grand per person now, isn't it? Not that that's very much money when you think about it.
Well, compared to what they lost,
Best casting. No, just say best casting Sajid Javid as himself.
Yeah.
I thought it was Zahawi.
Was it Zahawi?
It was Zahawi. Yeah, Zahawi plays himself.
Javid. It was yes. You're right. Because I looked at him thinking, that looks very much like him. Is that really him?
Yeah, it was Zahawi, because that was the story. But okay. I'm about to break out in tears here. So, Sharon, could you just tell us, I know it's horrible to reduce it down to this, but how many stars would you give this?
I think it's one of those dramas that you can't help but give it a 5.
Yeah.
I think because of the impact it's had, the impact it had on me personally, but the impact it's had on society, on the government, who are actually sitting up now and taking real notice about this thing. I think this is the ultimate thing you can ask for from a drama, isn't it? That it's a drama, but it has real world impact, and it works for the power of good, basically. So I think it was a 5-star story anyway, but they presented it as a 5-star drama. And I think Toby Jones is just that sort of character that he's snarky, he's funny, he's determined, he probably would be a pain to live with, but he's portrays this so well that you were like go, come on, don't give up. And so I think it ticked all the boxes in terms of what a drama should do and what it actually delivered. It had the intention, and then it delivered that. So yeah, it's got to be a 5-star, I think.
Okay.